I'll be talking about Bitcoin and some altcoins that you guys can watch out. But before doing that, I'll be talking about what the market sentiment currently is and what you guys can exactly do. Bitcoin currently is trading at $65,500 as of now while I'm shooting this video. It might differ when you guys see this video. Okay, but what exactly drove the market up right after we seeing Bitcoin, mitigating $60,000, and post that we saw an expansionary move of 12%. That was Fed का interest rate decisions जहाँ पे you guys saw Bitcoin went up. Why? Because the Fed paused their rates and they did not hike any rate. So whenever you see the Fed raising interest rates, that's usually very good and very bullish for the DXY and very bearish for the emerging markets. And whenever you see Fed cutting down rates, that's very bullish for the market because you see the dollar index losing its value. And whenever you see dollar index moving down, you see the markets going up. Now, Fed started pausing the rates. Logically, if you look at the current economic inflation or the CPI of US, it's currently at 0.2. Their inflation target is 2%. So they are still a little lagging behind when it comes to their target. But I don't know how is it gonna play out. But a lot of people are started talking about the Fed is going to start cutting rates. But fundamentally, if you look at your target and where the current inflation is, I see a major gap between that. So there's a big parity. But I'll get into this a little later. Let's talk about what Bitcoin can do and what are the levels that you guys can watch out. The fear and greed index still shows that there's extreme greed. Okay. So until and unless you see more fear in the market, you won't see new money jumping in. Why? Because still a lot of people are longing. And until and unless you see most of the retailers getting, a little bit of fear and yeah, the market might fall, we are going to 40K, 30K. वहाँ पे आप लोग देखोगे कि ज़्यादा बड़ा expansionary move आता है rather than a market like this which is a little choppy and at the same time sideways too, except for the move that we saw yesterday. Okay, so now we'll hop on to Coin 360, which shows the current market ka heat map, and the current market ka heat map mein you can clearly see major alts are red, including Bitcoin. Ethereum is green because Ethereum ETFs का अलग हवा चल रहा है. I don't know what is it going to eventually lead to, because there's SEC who is talking about declaring Ethereum as a security. Coinbase बीच में आके आज बोलता है कि Ethereum is a commodity. So all this fun and all will just keep on happening and going on. Your job as a trader and as an investor is to understand the fundamentals, what are the catalysts that can drive the price, and apart from that, you guys can simply focus on the important levels. I'll start with Bitcoin, and yes, the chart is going to be very simple. And if I start looking at things from a weekly perspective, you guys can clearly see that from the weekly zone, Bitcoin made a high here and we rejected right away. The second candle was bearish too. Now it's more important to filter down your chart from a daily perspective and see where the exact imbalance ends. Now in my perspective, the exact imbalance ends over here from 50 to 52 zone, because this has a fair value gap over here. You guys can clearly see a fair value gap here, and at the same time it's here as well. So a lot of fair value gaps does not mean that it's always going to get filled. You might see something like this happening as well. I'll just show you guys from the path. Like, it took liquidity out from here and then it started moving up. So something like this can happen as well, that we, take out some liquidity here. We might retest this, or we might continue to go up, and maybe after that we might retrace someday or the other, or before this expansionary move we might retrace and then come back. But these are all probabilities. ये हो सकता है, वो हो सकता है. From a realistic approach, all you guys need to do, and all of these spot buyers, because I personally don't like trading futures a lot, but I am completely into spot. And from a spot perspective, logically there's only two things that you guys can do. First, mark up the key areas, and the key areas in my perspective is this. So 58 to 61,000 or $60,000 happens to be the first point of interest or area of interest where you guys can think about buying or accumulating Bitcoin. Let's say for an example that you have 100K in your wallet. Okay. Now this doesn't mean that you completely get your 100K accumulated here and you don't have anything left for this dip. Rather go like this. Let's say you accumulate 40% over here, get the rest 30 over here, and still keep the rest 30 for a scenario which is very uncertain. Nobody can tell you that market is going to go here, market is only going to go here, and यहाँ से आप लोग bounce देखोगे. That can never happen, and whoever is doing that, I would just request you guys to not follow a person who's telling you that only this is going to happen. Whatever we do and whatever we currently are talking about are all about probabilities. Okay, this can happen, that might not happen, or this might happen. Okay, so that is from a realistic approach, that you guys stay prepared. And even if this goes down, your average price will just increase. If you are buying your little, your average price might range from 50 to 53,000 or whatever it's going to be, depending upon what size you buy. That's first. So these are the two levels where you guys can think about buying Bitcoin. And from a selling perspective, if you are willing to hold Bitcoin for a long-term perspective, don't do anything. Don't think about any sell or exit point. Simply hold if you understand what the fundamental is. But if you want to just swing Bitcoin and churn out some gains, then yes, these two levels will be going to be this will be the same. Sorry. And yes, 58 to 60,000 in my opinion can be an exit scenario for the bears, and from here we might see another expansionary move. Yes, there are chances that we might mitigate 50 to $52,000 too. That's first. What are the altcoins that I personally am accumulating, and you guys can do the same only after consulting your financial advisor. See, I am not telling or asking you guys to buy this. It's going to be upon you. How do you exactly do your own research instead of following YouTubers or content creators like me or any other? So when it comes to Atom, see, Aptos has already moved. I'm not going to be talking about that, but I can still share the levels. In Atom, you guys can simply mark this or write this down. The levels are already plotted. You guys can clearly see that the same level worked out. 10 to $11 was a very good range for 30% or 40% of your accumulation. If you had your limit orders here, or even at 10.8 or $11, you could have easily made somewhere around 7% in a week from the flash crash that we saw last week or this week only, right in the beginning. The second zone is 9.5 to $10, and the third zone is 8.7 to $9.2. These three are the zones where you can simply divide your funds and make sure that if you are accumulating things in these zones, these three, the best part is going to be your average price will be very good. And once you see the bigger picture of Atom, once we break out of this range, take out this grab, and then once we start moving, the targets can be very high. So now do you see how important is it to look at the bigger time frames rather than looking at 5 minutes or 1 hour or whatever you guys do? So yeah, the future is bright. Atom is blockchain 3.0, and it's just not about blockchain 3.0 or whatever they claim that they can be. The fundamentals behind Atom is very strong too. So you guys can probably keep this on your radar, and at the same time watch out for these levels only if you are interested in accumulating Atom. The second crypto that I personally have accumulated and I'll still keep on accumulating more is Dot or Polkadot. Here are the two levels that I will be watching out. This is a level $6 wala, so I might start watching out once we break this. But as of now, 8.2 to $8 can be the first range, and your second accumulation zone can be $7 to $7.5. Okay, so this is exactly $7, and this can range from 8.1 to 8.2. And these two ranges may you probably can start dividing your funds like 40, 50, and maybe 10% for this tip. These are the important levels for Dot, and what I personally expect out of Dot is to do something like this. I'll show you in the part. It might take out some liquidity, come here, grab this back, and then start moving up. Or maybe it might go here, take out some liquidity, take a tap back, and then we might start moving up. So yeah, these two can be or can act as a good or an important point of interest area from my perspective, where you guys can again do your own research and take decisions accordingly. The third crypto, which I again find very good from a fundamental perspective, is Optimism. And at the same time, the biggest point of interest for me for Optimism is only going to be one as of now. If I see anything that gets invalidated, then I will share a new level that you guys can watch out. As of now, it's going to be $2.7 to $3. ये एक ऐसा रेंज है जहाँ आप लोग मे बी देख सकते हैं if you guys want to accumulate optimism. And अभी के लिए I think this level can act as a good barrier before letting optimism go down beyond this, because if this wants to go beyond this, then Bitcoin might need to go to 50,000. Then you guys might see optimism trading your $2 के आसपास. So yeah, if you are interested in buying optimism, then maybe this can be an area where you can invest 30 to 40% of your total money. रेस्ट लाइक आई ऑलवेज से आप लोग थोड़ा डिप आए तभी इन्वेस्ट करना, एंड नॉट दैट कि यहाँ से अब यहाँ गिर गया तो यू गाइस आर इन्वेस्टिंग, यू बॉट एट $2.8 एंड नाउ यू आर बाइंग एट 2.4 or 2.5. Wait for 20% more crash so that average price better हो, and it's not necessary that you guys are simply blindly buying any dip that you see. Wait for a 20-30% crash and then see whether what is the area. If it's trading at an area like this, or if it's falling like this, then there's no point of buying. अगर आप लोग यहाँ कहीं पे buy कर रहे हो, then there's no point of buying. If you guys see, if I just enlarge and keep on expanding, these are not the areas. This is the time when you start going to the smaller time frame and try filtering your chart out by seeing where the base is getting built and where that falling knife kind of a scenario has stopped, and you see some better consolidation. These are some important levels for, or rather just a single level for optimism. The last crypto that I really am interested in is Injective. See, I'm interested in Graph as well, but I am not going to be suggesting Graph as of now because it's not trading around a good area. Injective, I have personally bought a lot. I have somewhere around 30 quantity of Injective as of now. I will be accumulating more from the range of $30 to $34. It is currently trading at $37.44. $30 to $35 can be a range where you guys can simply think about accumulating 50% from the total money that you have. These are some altcoins where you can think about accumulating, or where you can think or reconsider if you guys want to. If you guys are already in and if you guys want to DCA your position, yes, you guys can surely do. The levels that I mentioned that might help you guys out from a reference or an educational perspective, but yes, consult your financial advisor. Apart from this, if you guys want any other crypto for me to analyze from a bigger perspective with everything involved in that, let me know in the comments and I'll do the same. As of now, these levels were more important because why I'm doing this is, जब market गिरता है ना, half of these social media influencers are going to start talking about अब Bitcoin 40 के जाएगा, अब Bitcoin 30 के जाएगा, अब Bitcoin 20 के जाएगा. Nobody is going to talk about ये लेवल्स आप देखो जहाँ आप बाई कर सकते हो, बट जब मार्केट ऊपर जाएगा यू विल सी एवरीबडी टॉकिंग अबाउट ये ले लो, ये अच्छा लेवल है, वो ले लो, एंड कीप योर आइज ऑन XRP as well. Yeah, that's the best tip that I can give to anybody for free. XRP is going to burst out in a very huge way. If you guys can accumulate this from a very long-term perspective, I think it's going to be a very good investment. That is it for today's video. I'll see you guys in the next video when I hop on to another one. So yeah, trade safe and make your decisions wisely instead of following anybody, me or any other social influencer. Do your own research before investing or infusing your own hard-earned money.